Hi, everybody. Joseluiz Morales here. Welcome back to another episode of the Morales Group Show. Today, we have a repeat guest. His name is Josh Zieglowsky. You might know him from ERC Specialist and his investing in commercial real estate. Today, he is going to be talking to us about a self-employed tax credit that is available for 1099 workers, sole proprietorship, contractors, DoorDash, Uber, different people. So we're going to be informing you about a credit that is available as a result of COVID and the pandemic. You do not want to miss this one. You want to watch to the end. Welcome back to the show, Josh. How are you?
Awesome, man. How are you doing?
Excited because I think that a lot of people benefited from the ERC credits that you guys were able to help. So if you wouldn't mind just telling our viewers who you are and basically what you do as well too, and then how you got involved in the self-employed tax credits as well too.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. I guess a quick 1-minute version of my background is I've been a serial entrepreneur for 20 plus years, mostly in real estate, in residential, flipping homes, all that stuff out of Utah. Then I got into commercial real estate about 7 years ago, started doing a lot of triple net stuff, dental offices, retail centers, medical, all that stuff. And then I was a minority owner of a oil business, and that's how I started the ERC company. I won't give you all the details in the middle. That's how I started in March of 21, because I was just trying to find extra stimulus to help with that business. We got PPP, we got state grants from the state of Wyoming, because even though I'm in Utah, the company was in Wyoming. And so anyways, we started ERC. We ended up being the largest company in the country, did about 70,000 companies. And about 5-6 months ago, someone brought it to our attention, saying, hey, there's another credit. You guys should look into it. So we looked into it. We saw it was for self-employed people that were self-employed during the pandemic, And number one, I always tell people, don't pre-qualify yourself. But, there's ways to qualify by going through the questionnaire and going through those questions. And an average person, I say average as in like any 1099, like you mentioned, sole proprietor, real estate agent, anyone that was 1099, even if you're both during the pandemic, you want to definitely go on there and see what you can qualify to. And it's up to $32,200 per person.
I love it. So if you want to see if you qualify, go to help, S as in Sam, ETC.com, help, SETC.com. So I think the first question that I had from you is like, why hadn't I heard about this? Like, is this something that's new? Is this something that came out as a result of the pandemic?
So to answer your question, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with ERC. We got ahead of it. Everyone knows, I would say everyone knows that there's grants and credits out there, but the hardest thing is the government makes it tough to apply for. To find out even when I was doing ERC, I even had detailed questions that I went to the IRS, because I'm in Utah. So Ogden, Utah is one of the hubs of the 5 or 6 hubs there are in the US. I went to the actual location where you can sit and wait there. I waited there for 3.5 hours to talk to someone, even though employees didn't know where to push me to. Mm-hmm. They couldn't answer those questions. And so we had to kind of rely on irs.gov all the time, and with different professionals that we had to go hire. So being that I would say now we kind of specialize in helping individuals and assisting them in, obtaining these types of credits and grants. That's why we're always staying ahead of it. I mean, I get a dozen opportunities a week, not just grants, but just a lot of stuff. And I always have to kind of decipher is what could be beneficial for us to help as many people as we can possible.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. And then, just who qualifies? I know I kind of went over this, like we talked about sole proprietorships, 1099. If somebody has a S corporation or somebody has an LLC, would they qualify? If somebody doesn't, I know that obviously we have that questionnaire, but just a brief overview.
Yeah. I mean, every person, eventually it comes down to them individually, right? So if they have multiple LLCs, like when I first heard about it, I was like, whoa, I have like 20 LLCs. So I'm going to get up to $32,000 per. No, it comes down to the individual eventually. And so it matters what paperwork you filed or whatnot. But I always tell people is don't pre-qualify yourself. You definitely just want to go on. It doesn't cost anything. You want to go on there and see what you approved, or it's going to tell you like, hey, sorry, based on the questions that you answered, you're not able to obtain the credit. Now, to give you a little bit more logistics is, let's say it says, hey, you're approved up to $19,000. There's pieces from your tax returns on your 2020 or 2021 that you'll fill out, and you'll go back and forth. Once you fill that out, it'll tell you that. Then about 2-3 days later, it'll come back and say, based on what we did all the research on your particular taxes and everything, you're going to receive $17,900.31. Do you want us to file? So ERC was based on a percentage of that. This is a totally different, it's under a different umbrella. So on the legality side, we have to do it based on just a fee, which is $2,000. And then you pay that, then you receive that money in about 6 to 18 weeks later. But you do pay that up front, but you'll know how much money that you're approved for, and then you receive that money from the IRS and via check.
And basically, if you're a 1099 person, or if you're a sole proprietorship, there's a good chance that if you are, you would want to take this questionnaire to see if basically you qualify. And then at that point, you'll know the amount up front, and then you pay the amount, and then you'll receive that. Let me ask you this. Like, if I have a full-time job and I basically also am a realtor on the side and receive 1099 income, could I potentially qualify for something like this?
You could, because it's based on what your taxes is going to indicate, right? So if, like, let's say, just to give you an example, it's going to say on page 6, line 14 on your tax returns in 2020, what does that number say? It says $11,600. You're then type that into the questionnaire, $11,600. You're going to go down line by line. And so it's going to eventually recognize that you did have 2 different jobs. That does affect you getting the max amount to what you're eventually going to be proportioned for, or whatever the word is. So,
got it. Now, aside from my tax returns, what other documentation would you say that is going to be required to apply for this?
That's it. So, and some people, I've even had friends that have said, man, I haven't filed my taxes since 2019, 2018. So you eventually got to file your taxes. Even when people they owe a lot of money on the IRS, you still want to do it, because guess what? You're going to get a credit on your back taxes from that. We've already seen that as well. So as long as they have their, when you're doing your questionnaire, to have it ready, I would say to have your 19, 2020, and 2021 taxes ready. And I would say most of us have that on digital. Like on one of my Dropboxes, I have it from, I think, 2013, where I can pull up any PDF file and I have that information. So just have that ready. And it literally it's so easy to go back and forth on what it's asking to what you go on the pages of your tax returns.
From the time that somebody, so what does the process look like? The questionnaire should probably take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. It's helpful if you have your taxes with you. That way it's going to ask you some questions as to certain line items. Then it'll take a couple days to potentially get the amount that you qualify for. From the time that you pay the $2,000, how long does it take for you to receive the actual credit? Approximately. Obviously, it's not exact, but how long would you say that process takes?
It's 6 to 18 weeks. I've seen it like in about 8 to 10 weeks on average.
And then is that like I know ERC was like literally like a check, basically. Is this kind of the same thing, or is this count like as a credit towards money that you've already paid? How does that process work?
Yeah, same thing. That's the fun part of it, is it still goes to the USPS. And then the other thing is it's sent via check.
Got it. And then is part of the criteria, and I don't know if we're allowed to go into this, but part of the criteria, is it for people that were affected as a result of the pandemic, right? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So there's questions. Did you have COVID during the pandemic? And if you did it affect your business, and which days that it was affected? Now you have to test to it, and we have a calendar. And you literally try to do your best to put those dates in, right? Like I knew that I didn't receive COVID. I got COVID in December 21. I got, but I had other people that were affected. There's the first question is, did you have it? Then the second one is it's an or question. Or if that's not the case, did you have someone that had it in business that you weren't able to conduct business based on that? And then third one is or did you have kids that were in remote learning and stayed home during the pandemic and learned from home? So there's different questions, and you have to answer those, and you have to answer the questions that it's asking. Obviously, we truthfully, and then once it kind of goes through, it'll tell you what you're approved or not approved for.
Got it. Okay. And based on those three questions, it sounds like a majority of the people, like if you were alive, you likely had COVID, somebody that you did business with had COVID, or a lot of the kids were in remote learning as well too. So it sounds like there's a good probability. Are there any income restrictions? Like meaning like if you make too much money, like let's say that they made $500,000 in self-employment, does that disqualify you? Or are there any income restrictions on that?
No, actually, the only one that is like in my case, my personal case is I didn't get approved in 2020, but I got my money for 2021 because I wrote off a loss. So, and based on when I answered the questionnaire, it then says that to me that, hey, based on what you put in, you wrote off a loss and you're unable to get money based on the loss. And it's a catch-22 because a lot of us entrepreneurs, we're trying to keep our taxes down. And so anyways, that's just the kind of the name of the game. So, but again, like I even went into it not pre-qualifying myself, like putting that information in. I wanted it to tell me that I didn't qualify on a certain piece based on what I put in there, if that makes sense.
Got it. So even if you're like a business owner with an S Corp, if you have 1099 income, just go on there and basically don't pre-qualify yourself. Go to helpsetc.com. Got it. Okay. And then I think that's pretty much it. Like, is there anything else that you think would be helpful to viewers as it relates to the self-employed tax credit?
No, I think that's it. I mean, you gave the website. I think that's going to be helpful for people to go on there. And like we said, there's no cost, no obligation. And, the one thing that we did with ERC that we're going to do with this as well is if you know someone, and maybe that you might know someone, you can certainly, refer them on and, receive something from that. And, and then that's going to be on the same website there. So, I think that's going to be helpful as well as because, we know we have data that shows about 6 million people during the pandemic were self-employed. So there's a big blue ocean out here and there's about an 18-month runway still.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, does this expire at certain point, or is it just kind of when they run out of funds as well too? It's
going to decrease over time. So the next decreased amount is in about a month and a half. It's going to be the first. So that, anyone that's listening here, I mean, it's not a sales pitch. Just so you know, if you wait too long, it's not going to be up to $32,000. It's going to decrease over time. So you definitely want to get your application ASAP.
Got it. Okay, cool. Josh, so I want to say thank you again for obviously coming to our audience. I know that I had some people in my audience benefit tremendously the last time with the ERC. So I'm hoping that this can do the same for them. So today we had Josh Zieglowsky. We talked about self-employed tax credits. If you're interested to see if you qualify, go to helpsetc.com, helpsetc.com, and we'll drop the link on there. Thanks again, Josh, and it was great seeing you again.